She thought she was better than a goddess. She retreated it instantly. Somewhere in ancient Greece, a girl once said something no mortal should ever say out loud. She said she was better than a god. Not richer, not prettier. Not luckier, better. At her craft. At her art. Better than a goddess herself. And the gods, they heard her. What happened next didn't just cost her everything she loved. It cost her the one thing every human takes for granted. Her own shape, her own body, her own place among people. By the end of this story, she wouldn't just lose a contest. She would lose what it meant to be human. This is the legend of Arachne. Stay until the end, because the punishment she received is still crawling around your house right now. Once you know the story, you will never look at a spider the same way again. In a small village in the region of Lydia, there lived a girl named Arachne. She was not born a princess. She was not born rich. Her father was a humble dyer of wool, a man who worked with his hands and taught his daughter everything he knew. But somewhere between his lessons and her own restless fingers, something extraordinary happened. Arachne became the greatest weaver anyone had ever seen. People said her fabric didn't look woven, it looked painted. They said her threads moved like water, like sunlight, like breath. Nymphs were said to leave the rivers and forests just to watch her work. Crowds gathered at her loom the way people gather for a miracle. And slowly, praise turned into something more dangerous. Because when you are told every single day that you are the best who has ever lived, you start to believe there is no one above you, not even the gods. One day, surrounded by admirers, someone dared to say what everyone was already thinking. Arachne, surely the goddess Athena herself must have taught you this skill. It was meant as a compliment. Athena was the goddess of wisdom, war, and craftsmanship, the divine patron of every weaver in Greece. To be compared to her was the highest honor a mortal could receive. But Arachne didn't smile. She didn't bow her head in gratitude. She laughed. "Athena," she said, "I owe her nothing. If she thinks she is better than me, let her come down here and prove it. I would beat her, and everyone would see the truth." The crowd went silent, because in ancient Greece, there was one rule older than any king, older than any law. Mortals do not challenge the gods. Not in strength, not in beauty, not in skill. And somewhere on Mount Olympus, the goddess was already listening. Athena did not appear as a bolt of lightning or a burst of divine fire. She appeared quietly, disguised as an old woman, leaning on a cane, her face lined with age. She approached Arachne and gave her one final chance. "Reconsider your words, child," the old woman said. "Ask the goddess for forgiveness, and she may grant it. Pride has ruined greater mortals than you." Arachne looked at the stranger with contempt. "Save your warnings for someone who needs them," she snapped. "If Athena is so powerful, let her show herself. I am not afraid." The old woman's disguise fell away like smoke. Standing before Arachne now was Athena herself, armor gleaming, eyes glowing with the calm, terrifying fury of a goddess who had heard enough. "Then we weave," Athena said. "Now." Two looms were set up side by side, the goddess of wisdom on one, the mortal girl on the other. What followed was unlike anything Greece had ever witnessed. Athena's tapestry was flawless, a divine warning stitched in thread. It showed the gods in their glory, and mortals who had dared to defy them, crushed and transformed as punishment. It was beauty used as a threat. This is what happens to those who forget their place. But Arachne's tapestry was something else entirely. She wove the gods too, but not as noble, glorious rulers. She wove their secrets, their scandals, their cruelty and deception, moments the gods themselves wished mortals would never see. And the terrible truth was, every thread was accurate, every scene was true. Technically, artistically, Arachne's work was perfect. Some say it was even more perfect than the goddess's own. Before we find out what happened next, And trust me, it gets far darker. If this is your first time hearing this story told like this, hit subscribe right now. Cold Reckoning brings you the myths, legends, and forgotten warnings of the ancient world every single week, and you will not want to miss what comes next. Now, back to Arachne, standing before an insulted, furious goddess with a tapestry too perfect and too honest for its own good. Athena studied the tapestry in silence. She could not find a single flaw in the technique, not one mistake in the weaving. In pure skill, Arachne truly had matched, perhaps surpassed, the goddess. But that wasn't what enraged Athena. It was the audacity. Arachne hadn't just competed. She had exposed the gods. She had mocked them, using her gift not to honor the divine, but to humiliate it in front of anyone who would ever see the cloth. Athena's hands trembled with rage. She reached out and tore the tapestry to pieces. Then, with the same wooden shuttle Arachne had used to weave her masterpiece, Athena struck her again and again, until the girl who had once been praised across all of Greece was left broken, humiliated, and utterly alone. Arachne had lost everything in a single afternoon: her pride, her art, her dignity. The admiration of everyone who once called her a genius now felt like a memory from another lifetime. Overwhelmed by shame she could not survive, Arachne made a desperate, devastating choice. She tried to end her own life, unable to face a world where she had fallen this far, this fast. And this is the moment where most stories about pride and punishment would end. But Athena wasn't finished, because in her mind, death was too easy, too final. Death would let Arachne escape the consequences of her arrogance. Athena wanted her to live with it, forever. Athena touched the rope Arachne had used, and a strange liquid, some say the juice of a magical herb, spread across the girl's body. Arachne's hair fell away first, then her ears, her nose. Her body shrank and folded in on itself. Her fingers, once famous across Greece for their impossible skill, multiplied and thinned into 8 long, spindly legs. She was still a weaver. Athena made sure of that. But she would never again be praised for it. She would never again stand before a crowd. She would spend the rest of eternity small, overlooked, often feared, spinning silk from her own body, forever, in the corners and shadows of a world that once adored her. Arachne had become the very first spider, and in Greek, to this day, the word for spider, arachnid, still carries her name. Every single spider you have ever seen, every web in every corner of every room, is Arachne's punishment, repeating itself forever. The Greeks didn't tell this story just to explain where spiders came from. They told it as a warning. Talent is not the crime in this story. Arachne truly was brilliant. The myth never denies that. Her downfall wasn't her skill. It was her refusal to stay humble in the face of it. It was mistaking a gift for proof that she owed nothing to anyone, not even the forces greater than herself. The ancient world had a word for this kind of pride: hubris. And in nearly every Greek myth, hubris ends the exact same way, not with victory, but with ruin. Arachne wove a perfect tapestry, and still, it wasn't her skill that destroyed her, it was her mouth. So here's the question I want you to answer in the comments below. If you were Arachne, standing there with a gift the whole world admired, would you have stayed silent? Or do you think, deep down, most of us would have said exactly what she said? Let me know below. I read every single comment. And if you want more stories like this one, gods, monsters, mortals who went too far, make sure you're subscribed to Cold Reckoning, because next week, we're telling the story of a king who dared to outsmart death itself and very nearly succeeded. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.